Hello everybody and welcome back to the What Topic Podcast, episode number 20 with your host, of course, Josh Deakin, at Miss Josh Deakin.
And your co-host, Owen Burkett, at Owen.Burkett.
And yes, we are back again. Look at this, we're on a streak at the minute. This is the third week we've recorded back to back, I think, right?
I know. Yeah. We finally got, shit to talk about.
We've got shit to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I'd say we hope you're all well at the minute. We hope you're all enjoying this sort of mini nice sun weather we've had this week in the UK, or wherever you are in the world, like whether you're still getting snow or you're enjoying what the best of the start of the summer. I'll say we are pretty much about to touch the door. We're about to knock on the door of summer very shortly. I'll say spring is pretty much come and gone nearly. It's going to be gone in like a matter of weeks.
It's still a bit chilly though.
Still a bit chilly though, yeah.
It's like, we tried to have a barbecue like yesterday with my friend, and when we were in the sunlight it was actually fine, but once it got a bit dark or in the shade, then it got like way too cold.
Same here. I went out for a Nando's meal with my mum because we went out for a little shopping trip yesterday afternoon, and literally we had to ask them if we could move tables because the sun was just like not in the shade at all. It was so annoying. Honestly, yeah. Really annoyed me.
Yeah,
that's that for you.
I mean, it was good, and also had a haircut yesterday, so it's like I got like an undercut hairstyle, which a lot of people have been saying it's like very Peeky Blinders. So I finally got rid of that.
Very sharp.
I basically got rid of my 6 months of hair growth, basically, and
in a matter of minutes.
And what I'm doing now is I booked a haircut, 4 weeks from now. And just to try and make sure it gets maintained rather than be an absolute mess like it was before. So
I totally get that.
I was so looking forward to it. It was just like...
I am sadly not blessed yet with a haircut. I was going to be getting a haircut next Friday, but I've had to move some things around. So I've got to get it now on the 30th of April. But that is my payday, my first official monthly pay.
It's not too long now. It's
my job's gone from being weekly pay to monthly pay start this month. So... I'm waiting for that big cash injection to come my way. It's gonna be good. But yeah, I mean, I'll be finally getting a haircut. Honestly, right, I still feel like my hair is that. I mean, you can see it on the screen that it's long enough to me to start doing it in bunches if I wanted.
Yeah.
And this is I think this is actually the longest it's been. I haven't had it this long, even before last year, when we had the first lockdown. So, yeah, my hairstylist is gonna have a right old time on my hair. She'll have to go and get the I think she'll probably have to go and get the big clippers for the garden and start chipping them away.
It's not that bad. I mean, come on. It's not as bad as me that I just like one of the
to be fair, your hair could get lost in it.
When it was windy, I just have to go like that all the time.
Yeah, when we catched up last weekend, oh my god, that was funny.
Yeah, the day before, like everything started opening, and now like just seeing cars and traffic and more people on trains, it was just a bit like, okay, I'm not used to this at all.
It's interesting, isn't it? Though, to be fair, like I think if obviously without going into too much talking about the situation in the UK in general, coming out of lockdown, more unlocking of things, I do think people are taking it a lot more seriously this time.
I mean, well, you'd be surprised, but
oh yes, there's always going to be someone.
I mean, well, not just someone. I mean, in my case, yesterday when I was having my haircut, we had a anti-vax, anti-mask protest, and it was just like a group of 30 people just going around, and it's just like, all right, okay. So, and they were like saying, like, why would you ruin such a nice, really nice day yesterday just protesting?
Oh, like, anyone will do anything because.
But then again, those same people will be like, oh, why are those people doing Black Lives Matter, like protesting on, whatever. So,
it's this kind of thing, isn't it?
Anyways, I kind of wished I kind of went out the haircut just to shout like, I'm a vaccinator, hate me or whatever, but I didn't want to attract that type of attention.
No, you just had a haircut. You didn't need any more attention.
And plus, like, it would have been like talking to a bunch of brick walls. Like, they just would not listen to me whatsoever.
Oh, I mean, last summer, I think it ended last summer. There was a group of anti-vaxxers coming through the middle area between the ball ring. So, like, for those of you who've ever been to the ball ring in Birmingham, For those who haven't, you will know, you will or won't know that there is like a big atrium sort of space, like outdoors. Well, it's not atrium because it's indoors. It's outdoors, not indoors. It's like, basically like a sort of like a 4-5 way sort of direction, and you got the left side that goes into the left side of the ballroom by Selfridges, and the other side goes to the previously owned Demonons, which is currently doing a close sale, obviously. Because those who don't remember, Boohoo bought them out and they basically closed down the shops in the high street and on the stores and elsewhere in the UK. But so round there's a section that goes straight down the middle of the two sides of the ball ring, and they were literally like walking all the way up, and like we just come out of getting some food at Five Guys, and we just walked out, and we were just like, should we just like go walk behind them with like masks and just taunt them? And we just literally was just walking behind them, like literally wearing our masks, and some of them turned around and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm just like, I wasn't. It wasn't me. It was my friend next to me. He was just like, "Well, we're just taunting you." He just came out with it and just said, "Yeah, we're taunting you." And the guy turned back round again, and then as we got further along, this lady tried to give us a leaflet going, "Save yourself," and I'm like, and I said, so, "It's all right, love. We're okay. We're saving ourselves currently," and we tapped our masks like this.
Yeah.
So like it was a nice easy taunting. Like we had to like kind of just tell them where it was at.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like if they're gonna go around like spouting all this bullshit about,
I have my will to go and tell them that I don't give a shit.
no, and it's making me even more frustrated because now obviously being working on the vaccination team and actually speaking to the nurses, like I've said this before in previous episodes, but like this is all stuff that I kind of knew anyways, but getting all this bit of information like firsthand from nurses, like when you hear about these people about it, they literally just roll their eyes, like they just go, ugh, like they just go, I just can't with those people. Like just trying to act like they're such professionals, like knowing that
I know
they're like they think like they know with like masks like cause you more harm, and vaccines does this and that, and they just go, look. So but I mean there's unfortunately there's going to be those type of people,
just the way
and that's not going to stop. And that's not going to stop me from doing my job. So,
oh no, hell no, it shouldn't.
In short, fuck him.
Yeah,
basically,
go fuck yourself.
But yeah.
So
let's move swiftly on from that, because obviously that's that topic's already getting dry.
That's going to be a constant problem, like we're going to have, like throughout this whole thing. But so,
one of the bedrocks of this podcast was always going to be about the pandemic.
It went from Trump to just the public, basically.
Oh yeah, I think that's the first mention we made of Trump in like ages, right?
Oh god, like I mean, he has talked about.
Oh, do you remember what I said, Owen, a few days ago? I remember I said if we ever talk about him again, you have to put a pound in our PayPal account.
I know.
that was a joke. That was a joke. You played that off pretty well.
No, but
that's a guy, obviously though.
No, but then it just went from like, like hearing what Trump has been saying, and now it's like, Trump's like, now I say like, nah, fuck off, like move out. If I say,
fellow Americans, fuck off. You're not American president no more.
Well, I might be back. Mute. Yeah, that's it.
Mute. Oh, speaking of actually, which we read as we was looking up for topics and was like, we won't bother talking about that. But Facebook are still actually like delaying like whether they're going to actually like allow him back on the platform. But I think Twitter have just indefinitely banned him now. So
Twitter's like and
Twitter has to put up with him long enough, and
I think even Instagram as well. They're like, nah, let's not.
Let's not. Bye. Press the button on the door.
Yeah. Oh, as Jeremy Clarkson says, moving on.
Moving swiftly on. Such a shame. But yeah, I'd say we're going to move on to, obviously, for those of you who are living under a rock, will not know about the fact that there is an Apple event coming up on Tuesday, which happens to coincide with, if you switch the numbers around for the American date, it comes out as 420. 420 blaze it, yo.
420. Like,
there's going to be some very big dankness going on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. Like they'd just be like, "Whoa, this is so trippy, man!" Like,
oh yeah, the amount of products they're going to release, and it's going to be trippy as hell. Fuck.
But no, what's the event called? It's called
Spring Loaded.
Spring Loaded,
and it actually has you know what? I give it to the designers of the Apple logos for these different events. They've created some really cool bits of artwork. Like I love how they've done it like squiggly. It makes you think they may be releasing another creative device. So there's a good chance.
Possibly.
There's a good chance that we'll see a new iPad Pro model this year. There's been speculation about an iPad Air, but that was completely like trampled off, I think, a few weeks ago by John Prosser, one of the Apple leakers that's pretty accurate according to Apple Track. But
they said something about the iPhone 13 possibly as well.
They said some bits about the iPhone 13, but that won't be anytime soon. No. This is not that sort of event. But I mean, unlike most events, it's a spring event which doesn't actually happen very often because for the fact that like this is the first time we're going to get an Apple event in April. It's basically the first time in 10 years. Essentially, that's what we're saying. It's kicking off at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, or 6 p.m. UK time for our UK Apple fellow watchers, I guess. But it's basically what we're seeing here is it's going to be an update of the iPad Pro. There was a bit of speculation that there was going to be an iPhone SE upgrade, but that probably won't happen until next year. It's also speculated that the iPad Pro 11-inch and 12.9-inch models that they release will be using the new mini LED technology, which will make it potentially harder to come by at start. So the stock of the larger model might be limited at launch, or they might delay the launch of the 12.9-inch until availability is better, but we won't know that until Tuesday. It's also been said that the chip in it will be the A12. They'll swap out the A12Z processor for something that's a bit more on par with the M1 chip, which actually is in the laptop that you've got, Owen. Of course, at the minute you've got the MacBook Pro, or is it the Air, right?
It's the MacBook Pro, the M1 series.
Series,
M1
yes.
with the M1 chip, basically. Yeah,
super sick. It's also speculated that Apple will have a new Apple Pencil 3 that will work with the new will go with the new iPad Pro. So they're saying it could be offered. I think. It might offer a spring-loaded tip, which Wacom obviously offers with its pens. So like it'll like have a bit more sort of like tactileness as you like click to the screen. I don't know how important that will be because like I mean I'm holding my Apple Pencil now, but like I don't feel like I need that extra like clickiness. Like I already have it pretty good.
I think it really depends. Like if that's the thing, like you just said it. Like it's like if you really like need like it's like it's going to be a preference thing. Like if you look at your Apple Pencil now and you look at the new one, you go, actually that might suit me more. So it's really going to be depending like what you wanted to achieve out of it. So
exactly. I mean, to be fair, the Apple Pencil 2 right now, I think is already a pretty good pencil. So I don't think it would be completely out of the blue that, like, if they decided they weren't going to announce a new one. But hey, I'm not Apple, so. But one of the worst kept secrets that, arguably, in terms of leaks and just general buzz around the product, AirTags finally should get their release on Tuesday. For those who don't know what I mean when I say AirTags, you'll have seen potentially that Samsung and some other companies have released basically like Tile competitive trackers, basically a bit like how Tile did. But one of the problems with Tile is that like it's not very good at longer distance connectivity. So the difference would be with the AirTags is that obviously they use the Find My app on your iPhone, like how you track your other Apple devices. And you may have seen that there's a third-party tracker that has been announced recently, and a bike that also has the connectivity, and a pair of headphones that has the connectivity that can use the Find My network. That got launched about 2 weeks ago. So it's basically like the perfect time right now for the AirTags to get launched. And the AirTags can also like use Apple's U1 chip technology, which basically means as long as the AirTag is in the vicinity of other nearby iPhones, it can still be picked up on the Find My network, which is actually very similar to Amazon's Sidewalk project. For those who don't know what that is, it basically means that like your local area could use like a very low band version of like the ultra wideband sort of technology that Apple uses, but on the Echo Dots and the Echoes other Echo speakers that Amazon sells with Alexa on it, and you can basically like kind of like create like a low band network that like will track like smaller devices in the area. So it's a bit similar to that, but within the iPhone network. But of course, it's going to use Apple's privacy the thing that they've always been very big on, like they're going to make sure it's completely secure and like there's no leaks or anything. But yeah, essentially, as I say, it'll make use of Bluetooth and ultra wideband radio chips, so it can rely on the Find My app and a network of iPhones, iPads, and Macs to track it, rather than just the old-fashioned way with just the tile that you like using Bluetooth. It's also speculated there could be an iPad mini release. We haven't had one since March 2019, so there's a good chance that could be updated. The Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo has pointed that a larger iPad mini with an 8.5-inch display, which could come from it could probably start to eliminate those chunky bezels that they have, and that will mean that there's only one iPad left that will have chunky board bezels on the iPad's range. There's also speculation of an AirPods 3 refresh, so a refresh of the original ones, the 2019 second generation, so this will be the third gen ones. A bit similar to the ones that me and you have had, Owen, in the past, just with a smaller stem compared with the iPad. I keep saying iPad, the AirPod Pros, so they'll look similar to that, but they won't have they'll have the in-ear design as compared to the gummy, well, not gummy, like the tips, silicone tips, essentially.
Yeah.
Which may be more comfortable for most people. And then finally, that we're expected to get another 4K Apple TV, but there isn't really much details on that. But I mean, other than that, we're expecting an iOS 14.5 update, which of course will have the one that Facebook is daunting on, where you can basically tell them we don't want you to be tracking us.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's always a chance that more things might get revealed. This is basically like going to be like a big event for the majority of the community. And then the speculation of an iMac coming, more MacBook Pros. Might happen, but yeah, I'll say that's that in a nutshell. I'll say I've probably gone a bit over how much I wanted to talk about this, but like, yeah, I'm as an Apple fellow, I won't lie, I am a fan. I do like Apple devices, but I wouldn't say that they're like the be all to end all. Like, I do use other devices for my daily work and stuff like that. I am a Windows and a Mac user, as I'm sure you are, Owen, in like other instances.
Yeah. Like I am mostly an Apple person, but if needed, like I'll use other sort of companies or brands, like if it meets my needs. So
exactly. But yeah, we're going to move on to one of the regular things about this podcast. Of course, it is talking about movies and TV shows. Indiana Jones, the next movie next year, it's been slated. Mads Mikkelsen has joined the cast alongside is she the director or the writer, Phoebe Waller-Bridge? I forget.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge she's the co-lead, so she's gonna act alongside her house.
Oh, she is gonna be acting. That's good.
Yeah. Like, she's not good. I mean, obviously, if everyone knows, like, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the creator of Fleabag and also the Killing Eve series.
Oh yeah.
And she's co-written the screenplay for the upcoming Bond film No Time to Die as well.
She's got a lot on at the minute.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. Like, she's incredibly talented. So the fact that they've brought her on board on Indiana Jones, like, that's an amazing thing for me. 100%. And also John Williams is returning to compose the music for the film. I don't know if this will be the final time, because he finished with Star Wars with Episode 9. But I'm okay with that. So, Mads Mikkelsen as probably the villain of the film, maybe that's another bonus for me.
James Mangold is taking over the filmmaking duties from Steven Spielberg, who directed obviously the first 4 movies, and obviously the one that we choose not to speak out very often, The Skull.
That one. So.
That one was definitely not great. But it says Spielberg is still expected to be involved in the filmmaking and will serve as a producer with Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall, and Simon Emanuel. So, but yeah, the 78-year-old Ford, of course, is reprising his iconic role as the fedora-wearing, swashbuckling archaeologist. I can't say it. Plot details have not been announced officially yet, but it's unclear who Mikkelsen will be playing in the movie. So, will he be a bad guy or a good guy? What is your take?
I think he's going to be a bad guy. Like
Got a good chance.
He's been a bad guy in James Bond and
the
MCU. So chances are, I'd be surprised if he turns out to be like an ally to Indiana Jones. But
maybe, it'd be nice, because I think this will be the test now, really, to tell, because obviously we had oh god, names are escaping me. Spectre. Christoph Waltz. His name escaped me for a second there. This will be the test, really. If he is the bad guy, if Mads is the bad guy, how well will he do in a modern version of the Indiana Jones movies? Because you could say that Christoph Waltz and Mads are both they're in their own fields. Obviously, they've done very different roles, but they've both been in the James Bond movies now, so we get to see what Mads is like out of that, and out of all of the other films he's done, and see what he's like as part of a series that has had a lot of pedigree for many years. It's had a very, it's had a rocky history, obviously, with the Crystal Skull being, not as favoured by many fans.
Yeah, and even the Temple of Doom has been pretty split as well.
I mean, I think the original three have their brilliant points, and
I personally, I think 1 and 3 are like the absolute best. Like number 1 is going to be my favorite, like hands down.
Oh yeah.
And number 3 is probably the best. It still remains as the best sequel out of the whole thing. So
it's not very often that you get iconic movies like that. Like even in the video game industry, like with Spyro, like with the 3 original games. You just couldn't, like other companies that try to take over from Insomniac just couldn't top it, could they? And that's the problem when it came to Crystal Skull. Like, it doesn't matter if Steven Spielberg was behind the helm, even he can make a bad film.
Well, I think that the blame is to do with George Lucas, because he wanted to have like his this storyline to do with Martians, and Spielberg said, I'm done with aliens. I did E.T., Close Encounters, and then War of the Worlds. Like, I don't want anything to do with aliens. So they went to other writers, and they really it was like Spielberg and Harrison Ford did like Frank Darabont script, which I think it's had something to do with Atlantis or something.
Oh, okay.
I think, which would have been pretty cool. I mean, I don't quote me on that, but it was basically anything to do with aliens. So they liked that script, but because of George Lucas, he's basically the one who has to go to get the approval, and he didn't like it. He didn't want it. Basically, he was throwing a hissy fit about it. So they went, well, okay, instead of aliens, what about interdimensional beings? And Spielberg went, cool. What do they look like? Aliens, right?
But yeah, honestly, I can see why there was a sour taste in his mouth.
I just think that Spielberg just went, well, we've been saying that we're going to do a 4th Indiana Jones film. Let's just get it over and done with. So
definitely really excited to see how Mads Mikkelsen does in the movie, because it really will be it'll either be a really good accolade to add to his movies that he's done over the years, or it could be like a bit of I hope it's not. It might be a bit of a smitten on his record.
Well, it'll be interesting because obviously James Mangold. This is the first time that Spielberg has not directed an Indiana Jones film, so it'll be interesting what James Mangold will bring to it. I think it will keep in spirit of the film, but he'll bring his own little touches.
Thing, yeah. Like, thankfully, he's still a producer, Spielberg, so like he's not completely giving up the mantle.
No, and the good thing about Mangold is he's done a few action films. Like he's done
he knows his stuff.
He did the Wolverine and Logan.
Yes, Logan was great. Logan was really fun.
Logan was great. I mean, the Wolverine, like, I liked it for the most part, but when it got to the very end, I was like, okay.
Yeah. The Wolverine was like, I watched Logan on the way to India on the plane, and then I watched it again, like on a proper big screen, and I loved it both times.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
it definitely is a tearjerker at the end, though.
It got really well. That was because they wanted to loosely adapt Old Man Logan, which I wasn't. I thought the comic was all right. It was fine, but yeah, I thought it was told really well, and Yeah, and like you said, it was a bit of a tearjerker by the end, and it was just basically it was just saying, goodbye to Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart from the X-Men franchise. Like it was such a great way to go out.
It was.
So
yeah,
Hugh
Jackman went on to do The Greatest Showman. No, I'm joking. I'm messing about. It's a good film. It's got good music, but it is a bit cringe at the same time.
No, a lot more people were forgiving than I was. Luckily I was like just killing time on the plane, so I was like, well, I haven't seen this one, so I'll give it a watch. And I'm like, yeah, cool songs. Just didn't like the film. That's it. But yeah, no. So yeah, I'm excited to to see James Mangold and Mads Mikkelsen and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and then just hearing John Williams come up with new material for Indiana Jones. So yeah, call me intrigued. And obviously, I mean, Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen, like they're both like obviously Phoebe Waller-Bridge was in Star Wars,
yes,
and Mads Mikkelsen was in the MCU. So the fact that they're now in Indiana Jones property in another Disney owned property, that'll be interesting.
It will be.
So yeah.
I say, moving on from one bit of Disney news in a way to a bit of not for Disney news. Alfred Molina, or was it Molina?
Molina, yeah.
Molina. Who was Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, the Sony produced movies.
The Sam Raimi trilogy, yeah.
Yes. He will make a return, which we already knew. He's making a return, No Way Home, and the quotation marks, the tentacles do all the work, and this is an exclusive with Variety. But like it basically says, like he was invited to reprise his role as the villainous Otto Octavius in the new movie, the forthcoming third installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, led by Tom Holland. But he was told to keep it quiet. So when there was shit about it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some big basically some big great secret. Because like it's gonna turn out to be like one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood, essentially. But instead, not only did he confirm his involvement, he happily detailed his experience making the movie and returned to the part he first played in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 in 2004. So basically, what we're saying here is, he doesn't actually die when he pulls the machine down. He basically he takes it down, and all we see is him going into the abyss.
I mean, well, they haven't really specified how is he going to get transported, or as he's still alive, or is he going to get is he going to show up as he's in the water or whatever?
It does say here that obviously going like for the movie, the first movie, obviously like he was a mentor to Tobey Maguire's character Peter Parker, obviously in a lab but the lab makes him into the murderous Dr. Octavius, or Dr. Octopus, or Doc Ock for short. Obviously, he had the arms fused to his back as part of the experiment to try and harness the power and energy.
Well, the little microchip that allows him to have full control over the arms, that got destroyed.
It got destroyed, by the fusion reactor.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's interesting. And he also mentioned that they did a bit of a de-aging because it's been nearly 20 years since the last film. So
it does say in early conversations, in their early conversation, Molina said Watts told him that the movie would pick up from the moment in the river, which in a franchise that includes multiverses, time travel, and diverging timelines seems plausible enough. But his concerns were more practical. He said that he asked Watts how they're going to be dealing with the fact that he's now 67. He's aged since then, obviously. He says, "Just look at me. Did you see what we did to Bob Downey Jr. and Sam Jackson?" Molina said with a laugh. In the 2016 Civil War, Marvel Studios used CGI to de-age Robert Downey Jr. to look as he did in 1991, and in the 2019 Captain Marvel, also set in the 1990s, de-aged Samuel L. Jackson to a younger version of himself.
Well, they also de-aged Michael Douglas in the first Ant-Man film.
No, sorry, I completely merged.
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, it was in the first Ant-Man film, and they also de-aged Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But they did de-age Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Al Pacino in The Irishman.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese's. Yeah.
Although that de-aging was not. Yeah, it.
It just say it's an example of digital de-aging, but it has its limits. And it says what they made him look his face younger, but when he was fighting, he looked like an older guy. So there is that worry. But I think they'll have it. I think they'll have it I mean,
they could always do like body doubles or stunt doubles or whatever. So. Yeah, just to kind of match.
The thing though that's going to make it very difficult potentially is the fact that it's the nature of the role. But he says that he thinks that the nature of the role will save him. He says, "I remembered that it's the tentacles that do all the work." So he said he sat up straight in his seat. My basic physical move as Doc Ock, as the actor, he says he glares intensely at the zoom camera and making a menacing noise. I just do that a lot, and the arms do all the killing and smashing and breaking. I'm just going. He glared again with a kind of mean look on his face. It was fantastic. But yeah, there is news obviously about castings that have been leaked. Obviously, Jamie Foxx will be returning as he's going to be reprising his role as Electro. Obviously, Zendaya is going to be back as well, of course, as obviously MJ. But yeah, it's gonna be mad. It is the casting of Molina.
There's still loads of. I think they're gonna leave as much as the big reveals as much as possible because it's got to come out later this year,
December 17th.
So they can't reveal all their eggs in one basket. So it's gonna be like one bit at a time. That's unless Tom Holland keeps his mouth shut because he's terrible with spoilers. Like. Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I was when I heard the news that they were bringing back Doc Ock, I was like, yes, that's fantastic. At the same time, my younger me was thinking, shit, the man that scared me the fuck out when I was a kid. Because let's be honest here, if you was not even a little bit freaked out as a kid watching Spider-Man 2, you have not lived. Because that scene where he's in the hospital coming alive with the tentacles,
the tentacles, yeah.
Like getting the saw out on people, like dragging them into the darkness. Oh my god, it's inspired.
Yeah, no, it's basically Sam Raimi was harking back to his horror film days with the Evil Dead, and hence the chainsaw reference, and that's probably one of the most memorable comic book villain intros ever.
And the thing is that there's no doubt in my mind that the mechanical arms were made to look as sinister as possible, which didn't have to be the case in terms of the job they were providing. But the fact that he had them fused to his body meant that he was basically he had no choice.
Well, it was just they were just an additional performance to his, menacing personality. You've got him, you got Doc Ock in the main of it, and they've just got his tentacles, as an addition.
So basically robbing banks just to fund the project and make it even bigger, basically going bonkers when he's thinking about it, because obviously the tentacles were basically talking to him because they were fused with his body, and when he got knocked out by the fusion reactor, and obviously the chip broke, it basically made him go a little bit telepathic with them for a bit.
Well, that's the thing. They did say because of the tentacles have artificial intelligence. That one reporter says, "Would you be more vulnerable to being overtaken by them?" And that's when he mentioned about the chip. And because that got destroyed, therefore he there was a bit where he's in that broken down part of the building. He's
checking for it. Yeah
it's not that, it's just he the tentacles starts talking to him mentally, because he goes there's voices in my head, and it's such a great scene because it's just it's just him talking to himself, but he's acting they're talking to him mentally.
It's gonna make for a very interesting kind of arc in the movie.
Yeah, which funny enough, Sam Raimi is directing the sequel of Doctor Strange. Ooh. And apparently they're almost finished filming supposedly in the next coming week or so.
That's fantastic. This just shows you that a pandemic does not slow down filming when it's done safely and correct. That's brilliant.
Well, unless you break orders about get Tom Cruise in here. Just
That's it, yeah. But yeah, I think one of the last few stories we got to talk about, they're going to be doing a. Speaking of movies and everything, James Bond is going to be one of the biggest premieres ever. It's going to be over £10 million worth spent on the red carpet screening. That's a staggering amount, and it says it might even be at a top London stadium. Which, when you say top London stadium, you're basically either saying the one over at the Olympic Stadium, or you're saying Wembley.
Or Wembley, or it's just going to be like the Royal Albert Hall. Either way.
I mean, if they say stadium, Royal Albert Hall.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a way to try keep it under wraps. I have no idea, because that's where Skyfall premiered at the Royal Albert Hall.
It did,
but yeah, it really depends like where they're going to be where they're going to attend it. So, basically, in short, it's probably not going to be at the Royal Albert Hall, and it's not going to be typically at the Odeon Cinemas in was it Leicester? No, not Leicester Square. It's near
Leicester Square. Leicester Square, yeah, that's right.
It's Leicester Square. Yeah. Okay. So it's like yeah, I mean, I'm interested in what it's going to be like. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Well, I might be able to go for it. Like, am I going to get like pretty close to it? Doubtful. But... It
does say here that MGM and Bond producers are in agreement though about this. They think that they can pull off the biggest in-person premiere of the post-pandemic era, and have already put aside a whopping £10 million for an event in England that will signal the return of the kinds of flashy movie launches that everyone's been missing for the last year.
Well, that seems like they're pretty certain like they're going to stick with the September-October release date. So
it does say here that they are looking at the biggest venues in London, starting with Wembley and going down from there, and have inquired about the Staples Center in Los Angeles for the US premiere.
Okay.
So when I say Wembley, I weren't far wrong. Definitely.
No, at all.
But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see what will go down with this, because like they were very tentative about when they wanted to release this movie, and like obviously the fact that they moved it from further on in November and brought it up to October now.
Well, that's the thing. I think everyone was looking at Tenet, like how much money it was going to make in the middle of a pandemic, and it was just showing like they were going to lose so much money.
I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to do a relaunch in the cinemas over the summer, because I don't see why it would be a bad idea. I think they could make more money doing that, because people have the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers might do a re-release because it's got it's been nominated for like its production design and visual effects.
It shouldn't deserve to go down in the dust because one person thought that they would just keep on pushing with the release.
Well, they are re-releasing it in the States, or so they are re-releasing it because now cinemas over there are opening up, but they're doing like 25% capacity with it. So yeah, I mean, who knows? Like they may re-release it over here as well, so they'll gain back his money back, because it does need to make about at least like 600 million to break even.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean,
stuff.
But on a bit of a downer news, it was not yesterday, the day before, Friday. Actress Helen McCory passed away at the age of 52.
Yeah, best known for Harry Potter and Peeky Blinders.
Yeah, Peeky Blinders, and even a little bit part in Skyfall. Yes, and she was also played Sherry Blair in The Queen, and if I find it, because I did see it, I think it's called the Special Relationship.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Yeah, the Special Relationship, which had Michael Sheen playing Tony Blair as he did in The Queen, and she also was in Martin Scorsese's Hugo as Mama Jean.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she's a hugely talented actress, she was married to actor Damian Lewis since 2007. Obviously, if those of you who don't know who Damian Lewis is, he was in Band of Brothers, Homeland, and recently the HBO series Billions, I think.
Yes, I think that's right.
So really great talented couple, but it's just really unfortunate she lost the battle with cancer.
Yeah, she died was it age 56? I think.
What, Helen McCory?
Yeah, I think she was 56.
No, she was 52.
Oh, whoa. Okay, I got my ages there mixed up, but that wasn't far off. I mean, I'll give her a bit more credit than she was due there on her age.
Yeah, but still pretty, like, she had
pretty sad loss. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was like all over. She lived all over the place. Like, if I go in a bit of a trivia, like, yeah, she grew up in Norway, Nigeria, Cameroon, Tanzania,
Wow.
Zanzibar, Madagascar, and Paris, among other places. So, lived all over the place. And
I'm putting it this way: I wouldn't live in Paris in modern day because it's too expensive and it's also very, very polluted, like being very close to the centre.
Yeah,
but yeah, I can imagine Paris was brilliant when she lived there.
Yeah, and funny enough, she originally couldn't take the role of Bellatrix Lestrange in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix due to pregnancy, and was replaced by Helena Bonham Carter, and then she was cast as Narcissa Malfoy. Is that?
Yes, that's right.
Played Draco Malfoy's mum. So yeah,
that's mad. You know what? I had a feeling it was her. You know?
Yeah, and she so that she was awarded with the OBE, which is the Officer of the Order of the British Empire, in 2017 Queen's New Year's Honours List for her services to drama. So
fantastic.
Yeah, she lived a really great life. She was great on stage in the theatre. Like, I remember seeing her in a live National Theatre performance of Medea, and she was absolutely brilliant in that. And then everyone is talking about her performance in another play. If I can find it quick, blah 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 blah. But she was in another set of things. Like, she was recently in the miniseries Quiz, and then she was in the TV series in His Dark Materials as Stelmaria, which is
honestly, like, the more that you read down her accolades, you do surprise yourself where you've seen her, basically.
Yeah, and then she was that's it. So she was in the National Theatre live performance of The Deep Blue Sea, which is a very sort of deep thing. So basically, it's about a woman who's having a sort of an affair with someone, and it's just basically seeing her family and the relationship with the person just deteriorate over time.
Oh shit! The fragmentation of life.
And apparently, it was for the sounds of things, it was a very difficult role to play, but she just pulled it off so seamlessly.
Fantastic.
And so it's a great loss that we had. So yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Major loss, but
and say rest in peace. Definitely. Age 52. Wow, what an age to go.
But yeah, like I said,
what kind of cancer was she battling with?
I think it was breast cancer, but
I had a feeling it was breast cancer.
I can't say for sure. So
yeah,
but yeah, everyone remembers her in Peeky Blinders, especially.
They made a really nice tribute for her on their Instagram.
Yeah, and then also if you go on Now TV, they have a thing where you can they paid tribute to her, because she was also in Penny Dreadful as well.
Oh yes, I watched a little bit of Penny Dreadful. She was really good in the episodes I saw of her.
And apparently she was in an episode of
Penny Dreadful was also she was in that series, was the one who played what's the name? She was I forgot her name already. The love interest in Casino Royale. What's the name?
Evergreen.
Yeah, the lady who played her. What's the name?
Evergreen.
Evergreen. That's the name. Yeah.
So, but the character you talking about is Vesper Lind.
Yeah. So she was in Penny Dreadful. She was.
Yes. Yeah.
So I believe their two characters cross paths quite a lot in that show, if I remember rightly.
And and Helen, and she was also in an episode of Doctor Who when Matt Smith was the Doctor in the. Excuse me. I was gonna mute it, but didn't do it in time. But she was in the episode called "The Vampires of Venice."
Yes. Oh my god. Yes, she was. Holy shit. Wow. It's like I say, it's like peeling back the curtains. Like, you're just remembering how many different roles she had. Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Like
it makes you look at someone like Robert De Niro, who like signs up to so many films. You know, like basically she's the Robert De Niro of the women's side of acting. Like she's been in so much, and like you don't realize how much she's been in. Like,
well, it's funny that I remember because she apparently, like she started in 1993, so
oh
she was
wow,
like so she did it like just over 20 odd years ago or 30 years ago,
so she's built her
and
accolades up really quick.
and one of her earlier roles, which funny enough is one of my favorite vampire films, was in Interview with the Vampire, but she's credited as second whore.
Okay.
And I was like looking back, I went, oh, was that her? I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. All right. Well, gotta start somewhere, I guess. So
Oh yes.
I mean, she had a great sense of humor. Like, it's just, apparently she forgot her glasses during she was about to read the nominees during the BAFTA TV Awards, and she could only read it from her prescription sunglasses. So it was funny that she was wearing all this amazing black outfit, and then she's wearing sunglasses, and she just kind of went, I'm committed, might as well just keep going with it. So and everyone's just like in hysterics. So yeah,
she definitely like made it easier for herself by having a good chuckle about it. Eh?
yeah, definitely. I mean, she's just one of those like actresses that you just wanted to work with. Yeah.
If you didn't laugh, she was gonna cry.
No, exactly. But we'll end on there. So yeah, rest in peace. You'll always be remembered, especially in the British film industry and the theatre industry as well. So
such a strong decade, accolades to have, like such strong pedigree to be part of. You know, an iconic scene.
It's unfortunate, like not a lot of people do remember her because because one of my friends, one of my close friends, like she absolutely adores her as well. And when her manager usually gets news on the BBC app, she just kind of looked at it and went, do you know her? And my friend was like, oh my God, you have no idea. And then, so unfortunately, not a lot of people do know her as well.
I also think that she got her, the news came through at a time that like all this stuff with the royals still going on, and it's like it drowned a bit of the news out, which is
it kind of drowned out a bit. But then obviously, if you haven't seen like Harry Potter or Peeky Blinders or
then you need to get yourself checked.
Anything else, then it's just like it's just got to be under the radar, and it's unfortunate because she's just so talented.
Yeah, she definitely deserves the credit that she deserves. So yeah, without, like I say, that's why I said the royals. I didn't want to give any more time to the royals. We've already given enough time on the air. So but rest in peace. You'll always be remembered, Helen. Honestly,
definitely, yeah, for sure.
But I'll say I think we've got one last sort of one story that we want to kind of like cover. Obviously, for those who know about all the stuff that we spoke about in previous episodes of the podcast, we've obviously been we're very much outspoken people. Like we don't like to sit on our laurels. Speaking about very difficult topics. And say we know that this is going to be quite a long episode because we're going to be talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier shortly after this. But we did want to touch on the fact that like it's not been the most easy time still for people of colour, and obviously recently we've had another racially discriminated killing by the police in the States, right?
Yeah, and this was on
the heels of the previous big one last year already.
Was George Floyd, yeah, and that's kind of that was like being sparking, and like everyone was remembering like like black people, especially black people, they're being like just either being killed or just clearly just being abused by the police system in America, and it also translated over here because then people of color over here saying, yeah, we've been getting this shit too. So I mean, obviously maybe not as many killings, but like they're still being racially discriminated.
There's still stuff happening, yeah. Doesn't matter where you are.
And so the victim was Dante Wright. He was only 20 years old at the time. And he was killed by an officer who was in 26 years of the force. Her name is, if I can find it, Kim Potter. That's right. And
this just tells you that it's not just you know, it's not just a one-sided gender thing in the police. It's also women that are involved as well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like, it's just the police in general. Like now, it's just, yeah, and the fact that they said their excuse was like she mistook her sidearm. She was supposed to.
God.
She was supposed to. She was supposed to take out her taser, but used her sidearm. And I'm like, I've heard this shit before. Like
when you cock, you have to cock the gun, so you know that you was cocking the gun. Whereas a taser, it's just ready to shoot.
Not even that. It's like one is heavier than the other. Secondly, one is black and one's yellow, just to make sure that
Black and
like
yellow.
how could you accidentally fire a a pistol and think, oh, I thought that was my taser, dude? One is all yellow, just to make sure there's no
it's especially a warning color, isn't it? That's the reason why they tell you to be
that's the thing, like when you hold it, you go, it's clearly a taser you're holding.
It's weighted, isn't it?
It's yeah, well, obviously one is, I'm assuming it's mostly plastic with the taser and a bits of components inside that may give a bit of heft, but one's clearly heavier than the other because a gun is weighing much more heavier because you got the metal components with the gun, with the the magazine, the barrel, like the bullets. There's clearly a difference, and not even that, you would go like, oh, it's not yellow, like my bad, whatever. But apparently, and this is not the first time that's happened. This has also happened with Oscar Grant. That happened back in 2008. Like they said, he was supposed to reach out for his taser, but shot him as well. I'm like, and that's the thing. Like you're supposed to have your sidearm on your dominant arm and use your taser in a different, holster on your uniform. So how could you mix up, and especially with 25 to 26 years of experience and service, how could you fuck that? It's such a shit excuse. And the fact is, it's like, dude, like you may, and then you got those people that trying to be like, or like hashtag Blue Lives Matter by saying you have no idea like what she's been going through. Fuck off with that bullshit.
She's alive.
Sorry.
He's dead.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, that people don't realize. It's like you can mistake about certain things, but mistaking with something that could kill people is no excuse. And especially with the amount of time of service that you've had.
And what do you think that one of the biggest points of people in this country, in the UK, is that officers are trained properly?
That's the thing, like, clearly, and the problem is like you're always going to get the which I'll get into shortly, because there was another incident that caused a bit of outcry. Well, actually, no, two incidences. And it's just there's clearly, like, you always need to be like, there needs to be reform. Unfortunately, reform, retraining is just, it's shown it's like it's not good enough, because, which I'll actually, I'm actually going to get to it now. So there was another incident that a video was leaked, not leaked, but was revealed that happened with a black man driving in an SUV, and he's a high-ranking second lieutenant officer. He's a medic in the army. His name is Karen Nazareo. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but he basically got pulled over the police, and he thought, like, dude, I'm gonna need to get into an area where it's brightly lit. So he went to a petrol station, and even then he was abused. So basically, they pulled out. I think some of them pulled out. If I'm looking at the video, one's pulled out their sidearm, and they're basically telling him like, get out the vehicle, but he's got his arms just out of the window, just to show, like, dude, I'm complying. I've not got my hands on anywhere. And he's basically asking them, like, why have you pulled me over? And they just kept shouting. Well, I mean, one officer, the main officer who eventually, got fired earlier this year. This happened December last year, I think. And he basically just kept telling, like, get out the car. And he went, and he basically and even Karen, like, basically said, dude, I'm scared if you if you tell me to do anything else but not whatever. And he went, you should be scared.
Whoa.
Like, what the fuck? Seriously.
The police
So
are supposed to be there to protect.
yeah, and then and you get people that just go, oh, if only why don't black people just comply and just do exactly what they say? Like, dude, there have been times where they did do as they're told, and they still get, either killed or injured or whatever. And they said, take your seatbelt off and go. I'm like, dude, and he knew, like, dude, if you tell me to reach out and take off my seatbelt and everything, you're gonna think I'm gonna reach out for my sidearm. And he's just, so he knows exactly, because he's seen enough shit. And what was it? The same police officer said, you should be scared. Said, you're just riding lightning right now. And he got pepper sprayed.
Jesus Christ.
And and everyone's like saying, like, oh, treat the military, the flag, and all that with respect. This is the respect that people of color in the military get.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
It's such
you just can't win. Like the fact that, like, he's like, oh yeah, you take your seatbelt off. Like, I can't without being basically said that I'm bringing out my sidearm. Like, do I have a sidearm? Like, do we know he had a sidearm? Those things.
And that's the thing. Like, police officers are supposed to be, they are not judge, jury, and executioners. They're just there to assess the situation. And the problem is that all these people are either getting severely injured or killed. And then you look at white convicts who are clearly, either clearly responsible for some mass shootings, or there was a video, actually, I can't remember the name, but the guy, they opened the door and basically they said, the guy who was being arrested, he's white. He was basically said, do not touch me, or I'll fucking kill you, in front of police officers, and just drove off, just ridden off. And obviously they gave chase and they eventually arrested him. But yet, he doesn't get pepper sprayed. He doesn't get firearms pointed at him. But people of color, especially somebody who's in the military,
disgusting,
get pepper sprayed or threatened. There's clearly systemic racism, and anyone that says otherwise or will completely just choose to be oblivious about it,
they're blind, deaf, and stupid.
They choose to be ignoring it, and they, as far as I'm aware, and this is why I hate nationalistic pride. If I hear, like, people like, get out of our country, or, respect the flag, I'm like, you know what? Fuck the flag. Fuck everything about being nationalistic or anything, because for
me, the way
I'm very conflicted, because
I get that. For me, it's the only times I feel proud to be British is when, as a country, we do something that is in such good taste.
Right, exactly. But then, unfortunately, you get all these nationalistic extremist groups that just ruin it for you.
Then even our own government, who thinks that racism isn't a thing in this country.
Yeah, Boris Johnson saying the UK is not racist.
That study that was done, there was loads of evidence that was completely redacted. Like, come on, like, do you think that we're stupid? Like, Americans already think that the government think that they're stupid. There's well, not even just the government, like this, the police force and all the different societies that are built around it. The biggest problem with with people in charge is that it doesn't matter which country they're from. Like, the police in this country, like, there was literally in the Midlands where I live in the West Midlands in the UK, so that's central of the country for those who don't know, in England. There was a police officer that was basically, like, having an issue with a guy literally waiting outside the train station, waiting for his train, just having a quick cigarette. Yeah, cigarettes are bad for your health and everything, but that was not the point of the police's intervention. The police officer was basically trying to say to him, you're hanging around, you're loitering, and he even showed him his ticket. Saying it was valid to go on the train literally in 15 minutes from that time. And the officer basically said to him, XYZ, I don't believe you. And he was trying to get him in the police car. The only reason he didn't get taken in to be arrested, I believe, was because his female officer next to him said, you're talking horseshit. and basically said this, that, the other, and she had it on her body cam. And he got arrested. He didn't get arrested. So he got dismissed and also fired, and also made to pay out a penalty fine to that man.
That's the thing, like, you know, like
Westminster's police for you. They're not escaping the Americans. They're not escaping the Metropolitan Police.
No, exactly. And with Kim Potter's case, she and the responsible officer involved, they resigned. But luckily, because when I heard that she resigned, I went, "Oh, that's a fucking cowardly way out." Like, because they knew they fucked up, and so instead of being fired or whatever, they thought, "Oh, I'm resigning. Don't worry." But no, she's now been arrested for second-degree manslaughter. I think. Lord. So yeah,
you should be allowed to get away with that. When you're in the middle of an investigation, you should not be allowed to resign. Simple as that.
And another incident that unfortunately happened was with a young black man in South Carolina in a neighborhood, got assaulted or abused or confronted. That's the word I was trying to think. Confronted by basically some white people in the neighborhood. Basically,
oh yes,
where they said, like, "Where do you live?" or whatever, and he's like, "I live here." And they didn't believe him. They're like, "No, bullshit. I've been living here for X amount of years or whatever.
That video is so hard to watch.
I've never seen you before." And I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, honestly, unless they clearly do something wrong, there's no reason to go up to somebody and say, "What are you doing around here? Who made you fucking sheriff of the neighborhood?" Honestly. But yeah, that basically the guy who confronted him, he was an army sergeant at Fort Jackson, and luckily he's been arrested for assault
and he's been dismissed.
And Fort Jackson basically went on Twitter when, "We don't condone this, so we're investigating on this," which is good. So
he deserves to be knocked down. You don't deserve anything good.
Exactly. So so this is the thing I'm saying. We don't mean to be like white splaining, as it were, but we do want to use our platform like, this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And you know what, and I even said this to you either yesterday or whatever, I would not be surprised if another Black Lives Matter protest happens. I think it's gonna happen every single year until shit gets done, honestly.
And if you don't, and for those people who don't like it, tough.
Yeah, tough. Like I joined one.
If you want to live in the same world as other people, you've got to treat people equally.
If you're going to
say tough,
if you're going to say all lives matter, you're going to need to include people of color as well.
Black Lives Matter is more important than all lives matter. If we can't have one set of people,
and that's the thing.
This.
If you're gonna say all lives matter, saying Black Lives Matter should not trigger you whatsoever.
No.
And guess what? I've joined the protest in Brighton last year, and I'm going to do the same thing today. Not today. This year.
Yeah.
If they do it, which I won't be surprised if they will.
If I can make it to one, I'll be at one as well. Simple as that. Because I know it's safe enough to do it this year. Like for me, I would have gone to last year's one that they had in Birmingham, but like I wasn't too sure about the safety.
No, that's the thing. Like they do say, like if you don't feel comfortable, then don't take it. Don't feel too bad about it. But
you can still do your thing from online.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, it's just like when you see this type of shit, you just kind of go, we thought we, mentioned that from last year. Obviously not, and I think, with President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I think they need to step up and really do something about it.
I think that they have really put through a lot in most cases where most presidents haven't. Like I think he's the current record holder now for the most amount of executive orders gone through in his first part of his term.
Well, basically, just wiping out everything that Donald Trump was doing.
He's basically just wiped out all the years he's been in office, and that's
and it was like, oh, you tried to get rid of Obama's legacy, even though that's going to be impossible by this point. We're going to get rid of your legacy. So any Trumpism, bye bye, basically.
On that note, it's a good note to note, really, that like Biden really, and obviously Kamala Harris, obviously they are fighting for better justice and better changes in the country that has been divided because of Trump and the Republican Party, and obviously that is on the up. So like it should hopefully start to see it ripple down more sooner rather than later.
We hope so, because even if they are the new president and vice president, they still need to be held accountable to, because they promised these things. And
I mean,
if you,
I give them the benefit of the doubt because it's still April and he's only been in office since the end of January.
Oh yeah.
I gotta give him time to make progress happen, because it never happens overnight.
But that's the thing. Like, even if he's considered, by comparison, he is better than Trump, and he is better than Trump. We still need to go, right, well, okay, we're going to give you about a year or 6 months or a year to
really start making those things.
Get yourself sorted and whatever.
I mean, not an apples for apples comparison, but one of the people who's running for the mayor in London, Brian Rose, he's made a commitment to build over 50,000 homes before December, if he gets in. And he's proved that he's got the architects involved, he's got the companies ready to do it, he's got all of the sketch plans and everything like that. So like he has. He's basically America's, like, he's a socialist, and which is what I consider, if I have to be, if I had to label myself, I would be considered as a socialist. Yeah,
and
one of the people.
And that's the thing. Like, according to America, being a socialist is very like that. That's basically a Republican's nightmare. They think like, they want to bring socialism in America, we can't have that. And it's like, why the fuck not? Honestly, like, it's just like, do you not want socialist healthcare? Do you want like lower like working hours? Do you want livable wages? Like, basically what Bernie Sanders is basically looking at what Europe is doing and saying, we need to do this. If we want to be considered as one of the greatest countries in the world,
we've got to change.
We need to be progressive, and we're not. I know this is easier for us English people to critique another country.
But we're not. But we haven't not critiqued our country.
But we're critiquing it from like a simple like level. It's just like, well, you have issues with gun laws, which you're still having mass shooting. I mean, there was a mass shooting from a mile of each other, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And but apparently that is all. It's not gun laws. It's the issue. It's people with mental health. And I'm like,
it's the people that say, "Oh, you had a bad day." Oh,
and it's like, okay, well, why don't you put more money into people with mental health, for example? But not only that, why don't you make gun laws to make people with mental health issues more impossible to get a gun? You know what? You don't need to be in politics to see what is fucked up. And you also, they're always going to get people going, well, you can't critique our country, you're not from here. And it's like, you don't need to live in a country to see how fucked up your laws are. Honestly,
you got to take one look at our country, and you see that we have less problems with guns in this country because we banned them. It's simple as that.
We had that one shooting in Scotland, and we went, right, we're banning it. That's it. And they'll always go, well, what about knife crime in your country? I'm like, yeah, but statistically compared to mass shootings, they're way, way, way less. Yeah. So,
there is that.
I don't know what to say, my guy.
But yeah. On that note, I'll say we're going to take a very quick break. It's been a very good chunk of the first half.
Yeah. Oh god, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very passionate about.
Oh yes. You definitely can't have that taken.
And honestly, like, just don't expect it to be the end of it. Like, there's going to be more issues.
We'll obviously touching on this subject quite regularly over the next few months, and I'm sure whatever happens, we'll report on it. But yeah, we'll take a quick break, and then we're going to go and talk about episode 5 and what we expect to hear, and we'll also get to see with the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and obviously then we'll probably touch on very briefly some of the stuff that we expect from Loki.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, stay tuned, and we'll see you very shortly.
See you in a bit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the final part of today's episode number 20 of the What Topic podcast. So, we've just, on our break, had a little quick catch-up on the next episode parts for this, that we're going to be talking about now, obviously the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we wanted to be basically like on point of what we was talking about for each thing. So we've I guess you could say psycho analysed our thoughts of what the episode was and what happened, so we can really kind of concisely like nail it down, and then we can, if we have time, talk about what we think about the next episode and maybe even Loki, going into Loki in the next few weeks. But yeah, I'd say, do you want to kick us off at the start of this?
Yeah, I mean, so the episode started off like pretty much as soon as after the end of episode 4, where John Walker killed one of the members of the Flag Smashers, even though it wasn't the person who killed his partner Battlestar.
No.
And it was a bit of a shocking moment because it showed like Disney Plus were not too scared to show any sort of violence on, even though you didn't see anything, like it was still pretty grim and pretty sort of shocking, as it were. And yeah, and it basically shows that, you know, Sam and Bucky comes over to tell him like, dude, it's over, like you're clearly not suitable to be Captain America. No. And John Walker was just like, I don't care. He was like, I don't care, like I'm trying to, you know, like I lost my best friend and this and that, you must understand that, right? And they just pretty much like just went, nah, like doesn't matter.
It is what it is.
And it's that line where John Walker says to them, say, you don't want to do this. And Bucky just goes, yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
And so they're basically fighting over to try take the shield away from him because, again, he's just clearly unstable to have that. And then amongst all that, you know, Sam loses his wings because of it. And then, yeah, even Bucky just got beat up a bit too easily. I mean, obviously he eventually, you know, got back up on his 2 feet, but there was a point where he just got knocked out for a bit, and
it's not like Bucky, is it?
No, I mean, well, I don't know. It's like, you know, he's now fighting against another super soldier, and so now like obviously John is just like having that sort of instability going around, and then he was about to nearly kill Sam with the shield, like basically just doing the exact same thing he did at the end of episode 4. But before he did that, he just makes that whole sort of threatening sort of claim that he's like, I am Captain America, and you're just like, no, you're not. That's the problem, is it? Like he's completely
off the handle now.
Yeah, and the fact is that it didn't take until they had to literally break his arm to take the shield away from him, and yeah, it's like, so because of that, you know, he got. I mean, obviously I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but try to get his little John Walker's storyline out of the way. Like he goes back to the States and gets his title of Captain America stripped away and just gets honorably discharged.
Essentially, yeah.
And he was basically trying to make a claim about what he was trying to do, but the government was like, just like Sam and Bucky were like, we're not hearing it, like what you did was not Captain America. And yeah, and that's where he meets a fellow character performed by Julie Louise Dreyfus as I did have the character, but
potentially known as Madam Hydra as well.
Yeah, well, that's one of the aliases that she has. But yeah, it's like she tells, like, she's got like this long ass name, but then she says like, you can call me that's it, you can call it you know, Val. Like,
don't call me Val.
Yeah, and then she says it's Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, also known another alias, as Josh said, Madame Hydra. The thing was, and it was revealed in Variety, or Vanity Fair or Variety, one of those two. It was reported that she was initially going to be first introduced in the Black Widow film, because obviously, as we know, that it was supposed to be released back in May last year, and obviously with the current pandemic that's going to be going on, that's been delayed. And so therefore this would have been the second appearance of the character, but obviously it's changed, and so we get introduced in the show, and then we'll see her in the film as well, which I think works either way, because it's kind of like, oh cool, like it's still an introductory sort of way.
It's not a deal breaker.
It's not a way where they do something where they make reference to something that we haven't seen yet. It's like, oh, I don't get what they're talking about. But no, it's still a really good way to introduce the character.
Because I'm sure that both filming appearances weren't that far apart.
Probably not. I wouldn't presume so, because it must have been shot at the same time as they were shooting, like, both the TV series.
For a bit of consistency, at least.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, then it just basically she gives him like a proposition to consider an offer, and
basically basically use the skills that he is being given.
Yeah, to another government scheme or whatever.
Because she basically knows he's got the super serum at that point.
Yeah, totally.
It's almost like it's like so obvious.
She just made it like it's like the super soldier serum, and he goes like, "What?" And then he goes, "Oh, don't worry, I know all about that." And that's, and it's just basically, it's just like the little devil on his shoulder, just basically saying, "Hey, like let's do this, whatever."
So at that point, we switch over to James, who's now gone to Sokovia, the memorial at Sokovia, and he finds Zemo there, and basically like pretends to kill him with a gun. Like he literally just like picks the gun and cocks it, but then it's like nothing's there, and like all the bullets just like fall to the floor. And as you said, the way
he uses his other hand to just drop the bullets out,
and the way that they filmed it, you said, was very good, right?
Yeah, it was just like the way they shot it. So obviously they established like where he is, and then they did a sort of like a profile shot, like a close up profile shot of Zemo, and the way that Bucky comes into shot in the background is almost similar to the way they shot it with Zemo and Black Panther near the end of Civil War.
Yes,
and it was almost kind of having that sort of similarity with those scenes where they're just basically just confessing to each other.
Pretty good.
And then obviously near the end of that scene, that Ayo and Dora Milaje take him away. But
we don't know yet. We think it's either Wakanda.
It's probably Wakanda, yeah.
Or it's been taken to, what's that other base called that was in the Civil War movie?
Oh, the prison. Yeah, maybe.
A floating prison.
Yeah,
because there's a potential that there might be a sort of Suicide Squad, but it's the MCU's version called the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, the Thunderbolts. Yeah, it's basically General Thunderbolt Ross just using the supervillains to do the dirty work. Yeah.
So that could be something that happens also, not just with Zemo, but also with John. We don't know that yet. Like for that to happen, he has to be technically arrested. So that could potentially happen. It depends on what his fate is at the end of the series, but we know that he's not going to be a one-trick pony, that's for sure. But also in the same one, it's revealed that he will have a new vibranium suit, Sam. So he gets that delivered by Bucky later in the episode, which is exciting to see, because it's now kind of like coming round to the bits that we saw at the start of the trailer, the first time that we saw the trailer, where they showed him training with the shield. And it's weird because I think they've deliberately filmed that scene to look similar to the very scene that when Bucky finds out that Cap has come back from the past. And he's lived a whole life with Peggy. It's very similar, that woods area, to where he's training. So they deliberately, I think they deliberately use that as like they continue from the ending of Endgame potentially. I think in the trailer, so like we don't know. Until now.
I don't know. Like it just felt like a really kind of nice little scene where they're just kind of giving each other the pep talk, and
exactly.
And it just made sense because obviously back in the Winter Soldier, Sam was a therapist, and he's basically just giving the much needed pep talk that Bucky needed to hear, and
exactly.
Yeah, it was just like a nice little scene. And obviously then it gets to the whole training montage of Sam learning how to use the shield, and yeah, it was just, I mean, it's just great. Like, it's just a little neat scene. And obviously he opens the briefcase, and it's just, we presume it's going to be a suit of some kind, but we'll have to wait.
I think we've sort of seen clips of it already in the trailer.
I didn't really pay attention. So
fair enough.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll say obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but obviously that's because like it's linked from certain parts. But we did get treated to another scene with Sharon taking business calls on her phone is it Daporia? I can't remember the name of the place.
I can't remember the place, but basically the place they had when they met the power broker in the previous episodes.
Yeah, it's still speculated that she could be the power broker, but there's a good chance that she's more likely banking on making last minute changes before she gets pardoned, as she could return to the United States. But at the same time, there is also speculation that Madam Hydra could be the power broker, but that's a whole other arc that we're waiting to know more about as we go. So that is potential, but not 100% yet. But then obviously after that, there was a very powerful scene with Sam going to visit Isa Bradley. Do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, to be honest, like the whole storyline with Isaiah Bradley is actually one of my favorites of this from the series. Like the fact that they made mention that there was a black Captain America, but they just treated him like every other person of color. Like they just treated him like shit when after the war. Like they just they just abused him. They just they experimented on him, and also Hydra did the same. And
because they hated the fact the US government hated the fact that that he ignored the direct order to let his crew die there, and he didn't let them die. He brought them all home.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think they must have had them all killed or something. Anyway,
I'm not too sure, but it was just the fact that his wife died not knowing if he was still alive. And the fact the government withheld, the letters that she sent to him,
and he only found out that because of one of the doctors.
Yeah, and one of the doctors just let him go because she just realized that she or he realized that what they were doing was just barbaric. And
you could see in the very first instance that we met Elijah back earlier on in the series, that he had super strength. You could tell he had super strength because of his aggression as he got up from his table, and he was like, "Leave!"
I was saving that he took that it was like a bit of a tray or something and just threw it, and it just stuck on the wall.
That's it. Yeah, and that was it. Yeah.
And it was a great scene, because they were because he was just saying to Sam they would never accept a black Captain America, and Sam being the optimist that he is, he's saying that Steve wasn't the one who brought you to this situation.
Yeah.
But also it's the fact is you may think that the government treats black people like shit, and it may still do, but Sam is I still got a bit of hope that they will take me in.
Technically, they don't even really know that he's there, do they?
No, they still think he's dead.
So that doctor basically faked his death, right?
Yeah.
Basically, he just I'm guessing he got given another name so he could live in peace.
Yeah. Just be in hiding somewhere, but still having a life still. But yeah, it's one of the most fascinating side plots of the story, and I'm glad that they I don't know if they're going to end it or they're going to mention it again in the last episode, but I'm glad that they went back to him. And
I mean, it could be part of the passing a passing part of the storyline, which might develop into some other time in a future series. But it is very interesting because as Marvel has constantly been pushing the bar with LGBT characters, people of color being more of a bigger focus in the MCU, which nobody is discrediting because it's been happening for many years now, but it's got better and better and better. And obviously then the introduction of more female based movies like Captain Marvel, and obviously we got Black Widow coming up as well, and obviously with DC doing it, obviously proving to Marvel that it can make the big bucks. It doesn't have to be a male character lead all the time.
Yeah, but the thing is, what made me appreciate about the whole story with Isaiah Bradley is that they're not afraid to tackle with hard subject matter
no.
About racism and everything, because the comic itself that's based on did cause a bit of controversy that they were like, we don't want a black Captain, and it's like even now it's like, you still get people just saying like if he's not blonde, blue eyes, white skinned, everything, he's not Captain, he's not America or whatever it is. It's just, and it's a damn shame. But again, I appreciate that they didn't shy away from it, and yeah, it's probably one of my favorite side plots of the whole series. Like, if not, it's probably it's probably the favorite of mine.
Yes.
Apart from the whole storyline, but yeah.
I mean, I'm quite big on. I mean, we'll go to it in a bit, but my bit that I'm quite big on is something that Sam does a bit later on. Obviously, in between, then we get the scene with the Flag Smashers hacking the World Council ahead of doing some attacks, because they're trying to rush in the law change that can basically displace people back to their own countries without any rights. So obviously, that's not something that Flag Smashers want. And I think most people probably didn't want in general anyway.
And
so that's that happening.
And Batroc comes back again, because he was in Winter Soldier, and he was in the first episode of the Falcon the Winter Soldier. So he's come back, and he's got to help with the Flag Smashers, although his agenda is just killing Sam Wilson. And
because obviously Sam didn't actually stop him potentially. He managed to save the soldier that they took, but he obviously kept himself, like, he managed to get across the border into Syria, right? Was it Syria or was it Afghanistan? I can't remember.
It's one of the Middle Eastern countries, but yeah.
And the thing is, I think we spoke about it before in one of the earlier episodes of the series before, like episode 1 or 2. I think it's that we didn't see much like going on from that first scene. Like, we thought that was at least I thought that was quite an isolated scene that was just between Sam and him that happened, and obviously like we kind of got to know Sam's like current stages of things that he's doing.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, obviously the paths are going to cross once again, and it's be interesting to see what happens. Like, so.
Oh yeah, and obviously because of that, we find out that he's basically like got more super serum from the Gal's lab from the previous episodes. Like, he got it ahead of obviously Zemo killing him.
Yeah. But yeah, then obviously jumping ahead at like earlier, like, Sam goes home and gets favors from the family neighborhood or whatever, like,
that were due to be repaid
to fix up the boat, and
James joining, and it's actually quite a nice
yeah
scene.
I mean, it's
very wholesome.
It's funny. Yes, it is wholesome. And then the fact that they even the sisters now having second thoughts about singing the boat as well.
Yeah, because he was about to start like painting over the name, and she's like, "Stop! I've changed my mind." And there's another bit that's quite funny. I know it's only like a sort of offhand comment, but like you can see the way that Bucky looks at her, and he's like, "Hands off!"
Yeah, and stop trying to flirt with my sister. And he's like, "All right, okay."
And I like that because it really shows. It's not even just showing his character; it's showing the actor behind the character's, like, wit and expression. And I quite like. I forget his name though. I always forget his name. I think he's Danish. The guy who plays James.
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, I think he's Danish. I might be wrong though, but he's such a lovable character. He's such a lovable actor in general. I mean, he just had a new movie recently, I think, called Happy Monday or Celebration of Monday or something like
that. It's just simply called Monday.
Monday the movie, I think. Yeah, I think
and
it came
he's
out
born in Romania.
Romania, okay. And
apparently he moved in with his mother to Vienna, Austria. So.
Okay. So he's got obviously quite European roots, obviously. So I wasn't completely wrong, but definitely not right about the Danish part.
And then he went to New York when he was 12. So.
Oh, whoa, mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that like I say, that other movie that he's in, it's interesting to see him outside of the character that he is in the Marvel series of films, and like he's honestly the trailer for that movie Monday, it's brilliant. I'm looking forward to watching that. But yeah, also they go home, and James and Sam, as we've already said, had a final pep talk before Sam says, you need to basically like focus on like making your wrongs are right, and so James leaves on his mission to go and fix his Winter Soldier mistakes one by one, and he says, obviously, just start with the one, don't rush it. But obviously, he tells Sam that he'll be back when he's needed for the good fight later on, and that's obviously when Sam starts making all of the, the training thing happen, basically, like having his big training monologue, going for a run, like powerful runs. You get to see his big biceps as well. That's quite interesting. And then obviously but then of course he opens up the suit machine, well, the case for the suit in the end, and obviously it goes to the credits at that point. But then we get our very first treated to us of the post-credit scene. Now I believe we're going to get a post-credit scene, or maybe get two of them next episode, and also the next episode is going to actually be over an hour long. This episode actually did turn out to be an hour bang on the dot, it did. But I think that's because they did a longer previously at the start, which is actually interesting. A lot of people probably don't even realise this, but I don't think Marvel do many previously stuff on their shows very often, do they? This is one of the only shows I think that they've really done the previously kind of like showing thing, like, because they did sometimes do it on WandaVision, but not very much. But
no,
like
not at all.
Brief returns, like, whereas with the Falcon and the Soldier, they've definitely like kind of done what a lot of big TV shows do, and they've basically grabbed sections from further back in the series and brought them to the front as almost like a sort of key indicator of where the series is going next.
Yeah. It seems like what they do is like they focus on certain elements, like, whatever storyline we mentioned earlier, we're going to bring it back to the new episodes.
Definitely. But yeah, obviously we got that post-credit scene, as I said, with John starting to make his own shield with one of his medals as well. And it's, as I say, it's very reminiscent of Tony making his first Iron Man suit. And for those who will remember the end credits for Endgame, will remember that when they announced all the different actors that had played their roles, like when it came up saying Robert Downey Jr. with his signature, you could hear him going dink, dink, dink.
No. So, well, you're partially right. That happened till the very end of the credits.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But what I mean is like that indication of him.
But yeah, it was the same. It was the same. It was. I think it was like once or twice. But yeah, it's that same sound when he smashes it. Yeah,
it's very reminiscent to this scene that was.
It's like remembering like where it all started back in 2008.
And it's basically kind of like ushering in a new change, a new era for John in his character and where he's going next.
Yeah, it'd be interesting with like what is going to happen like in the last episode, or if it's going to reveal that there's going to be another series. I guess
one of the best ways to sum this up really is that like we are expecting to see more from John. We're definitely expecting to see more from the Flag Smashers. Carly, we haven't really seen much of in this episode. We've only probably seen her for at least maybe less than 10 minutes in the episode, so less than we probably was expecting this episode. But we're definitely expecting her to have a lot more screen time next episode. Whether she'll be killed or not, we don't know yet. I'd like to hope that she sticks about after the show. I think like it'd be good to see like if she can be redeemed. Like obviously I know Zemo says that like she can't be redeemed, but I think that she can be.
Yeah,
you can see the passion in the conversation that her and Sam had 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, I mean it's just trying to prove that Zemo is like, it may be right on some things, but it's not right on a lot of things.
No, Zemo's very much bent in his ways, and like that's one of his problems is that like everything he says he believes is going to be right. Like I mean, we was obviously thrown off a little bit, and I think other people were thrown off when he said to the little girl like, "I don't trust these guys." We kept thinking that was linked to a potential crisis later on in the episode, which it didn't come to pass at all. So like whether that was just to like make a mockery very briefly of the two of them because he knew where he was going next. Put us
on it, yeah, or it was just to put us on edge, like what's going to happen.
Because he knew he was on borrowed time when he found out. Obviously, like, he had an inkling that like the Dorja Malasi were coming after him anyway. They knew that he was.
Yeah, I mean, since you're responsible for killing a king of a country,
you can't get away.
Then that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm saying honestly, for the last but one episode, definitely did get a lot more than we probably expected. I think.
Yeah,
but a lot of it was very much in line with what we expected, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that it didn't detract anything of the quality of the show.
Mm-mm.
It was just pretty much like it just felt, for me at least, it just felt like it was exactly how I thought it was just going to pan out. But I still enjoyed it regardless.
I
And
enjoyed it. Yeah, it
yeah,
definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't an episode just about building. It was also about. It was also about like kind of like laying down the groundwork for things that will either be very quick happening in the next episodes or will be part of like a post credit scene. I mean, as we've already said, like this is a mini series, so like it's come and gone so quickly. Like it's been around for
yeah.
the best part of a month and 2 weeks. That's how.
This is like just under like 6 hours of like the whole series.
Mm.
I mean, each episode being like 45 minutes long. It's just like it's just so much to get through, but yeah, it feels like you said, like it just went through like really quickly.
Honestly, it's really gripped me as like. Don't get me wrong. Like I said in the last episode, I loved WandaVision, but I think this series is more fine tuned with what I like when it comes to the Marvel universe. Like I like the fact that they have really pushed home the personas of Sam and James being on the back foot with so much going on in the modern day after Captain America's gone, and pretty much most of the Avengers aren't even on the scene anymore. There's no major interaction with any of the big players anymore. It's just showing the story arcs of two Avengers that have basically been like not cast away, but like have basically like they're like two players on the corner of a storm, and they're trying to basically work to everyone's side. Like Sam's trying to please his sister. He's trying to make sure that like his family life at home is secure. Whereas on the same side, you've got Sam. He's trying to make amends for everything he's done wrong with being Winter Soldier. Like he's obviously
you mean Bucky?
Bucky, yeah. So yeah, James Bucky, yeah. So like he's trying to redeem himself slowly. Like he's obviously been, he spent time with his friends that obviously like turned out to be the father of the son that he killed. Like he's already been trying to redeem himself like on a very slow scale, and obviously he went up to see him after going out with that girl. Like we didn't get to see anything after that, so like obviously that didn't go nowhere, which is a shame. It was nice.
Well, I think it's like he didn't want to be too attached
No,
to what he originally attended. So that, I think that was how I read it.
maybe
So
he just needs more redemption before he worries about his future.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that is part of his future, obviously.
He
But
needs to fix himself before he even thinks about doing anything else. So
because he's been
yeah,
wronged so many times, and like for him, he thinks that there's always one thing next to him that will change his perspective on things, and it panics him. And like obviously, we saw that scene of him at Wakanda being helped out, obviously by AO, like really like kind of like pushing for him to keep listening to the trigger words to the point that it basically just makes him think, "I'm free." Like you don't need to stress anymore, and that was quite
yeah.
powerful. Quite powerful first scene, and I know a lot of people was like, "Oh, Wakanda! They've gone to Wakanda!" Like they weren't expecting a Wakandan scene like that quick.
Yeah, and I thought it was a great scene just to showcase that with Sebastian Stan's performance, like just trying to get his willpower like sort of back,
And show his emotional side as well. As an actor,
yeah,
he absolutely excelled in that scene.
yeah. And I just like that it's just people may think like, oh, Marvel's just trying to be fun, light, and everything. Like, no, it can be quite heavy at times, and
It can
it's
be.
not afraid to do that.
No,
And that's why I think this is why the MCU does it a lot better than the DC. Not saying that the DC movies can't do it at times, but for the most part, like I just think when they're trying to be dark and serious, like they just trying to do it too hard.
yeah.
And it just shows, like, with scenes like that you can make it work and still be enjoyable without being such a chore.
It's really trying to like kind of move heaven and earth, really, isn't it? Like with like scenes that are heavy, even potential tearjerkers in like the scenes between different characters, and it makes you like think, oh shit, this is like a really impacting scene. It's not close to light-hearted. It's as far away from that as possible. But then when you cycle round to the presents, obviously, with AO and like them having their conversation, and like saying, "You've got this amount of time. Zemo needs to come with us. We will be back for him." And obviously, later on in the episode, they do come back and they get their asses kicked by them.
Yeah.
By the large.
So it's been like an interesting series where they cover like quite a lot of things that, obviously with WandaVision, it was a very sort of self-contained sort of narrative, where this one's quite expansive.
It's probably one of the reasons why I actually favour it probably more, liking it a lot more. Like I say, I still like WandaVision, don't get me wrong, and I'll probably love Loki as well, and every other series that comes.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it seems it's just slowly getting bigger as it goes along. So it's like God knows what Moon Knight and other series they're going to be doing.
Oh yeah, and we've still got Jeremy Renner coming out with his Hawkeye
series. Yeah.
That I'm excited to see that, because obviously we got to see a bit of his home life. We did obviously when the blip happened, and then obviously after the blip again. So that was nice. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what the MCU is doing. Finale's gonna be great. I say we was probably going to talk about Loki, but we can probably talk about Loki a bit closer. To the time.
We'll talk about it when we get closer to it. Like,
I say it's not due until June 9th, is it?
11th.
11th. Yeah, and I think that is also a Friday. So Friday release again.
It seems to be like every Friday they'll release a new episode. So
it's a good way to have the weekend.
So at least it gives us a bit of a break between series. So
it does.
Because I mean, it was only about 2 weeks apart from WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, wasn't it?
And I mean, and I watched the documentary of the making of it, and I believe the making of Falcon and Winter Soldier will be due out at some point in the next few weeks.
Probably after the last episode airs.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting to watch, because obviously I imagine the budget was way bigger on that show than WandaVision.
Like, you see, like, I mean, when I was watching the first episode and watching the action sequence, I'm like, where did they get the money from? But then again, you had like, but it's not even just that. It's like with Endgame making like almost like $3 billion in the box office until Avatar beat it again. I
mean, they've proven time and time again that like they can make their money back. So like they're not afraid about doing it on Disney Plus.
Oh no, they have the budget for it. So yeah. And so like if Loki becomes a success, which I have no doubt it won't be. I mean, who knows where it's going to go? I mean, you still got like, the Fantastic Four, like, is going to open a few bits, and then we're still waiting for Galactus to get his proper appearance as well.
It'll all come in time. This is the next phase of MCU,
really. Like, and we've still got Thor to come out with their film as well. That's just the whole thing. I'm excited. Like, obviously people will still remember lining up to see the new Captain America or Iron Man or whatever, but this is a new phase of Marvel, and
they've definitely firmed it pretty well given the pandemic.
And it just shows that they don't need Captain America or Iron Man to be successful. They
don't need the founding pillars.
Yeah. So yeah, like I'm excited. But yeah, like obviously Black Widow would be next.
It's gonna be good.
So I would definitely be watching it in cinemas. I'm not gonna pay £20 for Disney Plus.
No, I'm hoping to see it in cinemas as well.
So yeah,
I mean, you know what? If the timing is right, maybe we might be able to meet up and watch it in London together, something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Quite good.
And obviously Loki will be after that, so they kind of timed it a bit. So, oh no, wait, my bad. No, actually, my bad. So sorry, Black Widow is coming out in July. Sorry,
yes.
Yeah.
June is Loki.
Yeah. So, okay, so May is completely
empty. Nothing on
MCU free. So yeah.
To be fair, I'm not surprised that they've gave it a bit of a break in between. Like, you had 2 Marvel shows nearly back to back in like a 2-week gap, so they're giving us a bit of breathing room. But I you know what, I'm happy for more Marvel stuff. It don't mind me.
I mean, we still got Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings coming out this year as well. So.
I believe that the next making of that I'll do for the Falcon Winter Soldier will probably be released mid-May, I imagine.
Yeah, probably.
I haven't had any announcements yet for it, but like I think they will have announced it on Disney's Disney Plus UK or official accounts on Instagram and Twitter. But yeah, I'd say we're both very much pumped and excited for the finale next week. I'm sure next week we'll do probably focus a full episode on it, or maybe even do an additional episode. Depends. We might. To be fair, I think maybe we probably go all out on a review for the whole series. Like we'll be able to focus our efforts on the full series at that point, won't we?
Yeah. Obviously we'll get like a bit of a sort of retrospective sort of like we can talk about the series as a whole and
key points.
And then just hopefully the final episode will live up to expectations and
exactly
and we'll get the whole picture, and then whether or not they'll continue making Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I think it's going to be a self-contained miniseries. So
yeah, it's gonna be good fun. We're all very excited, and we can't wait to talk about it as it comes out next week. I guess at that point, it's probably best to say thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the What Topic Podcast. Of course, we have been your hosts, as always, Josh Deacon at Mr. Josh Deacon.
And Owen Burkett at Owen.Burkett.
And until next time, we'll see you soon. And thank you for joining us. And also, stay safe, wear that mask, and we'll see you soon.
Take care of yourselves. See you then.
See you later. Bye.